Hello again. I thought I'd make an update video since it's been a couple of months since my last one. I've since started on another lot of antidepressants, so I'm on 2 now, plus another medication to stop anxiety and panic attacks. It is doing a lot better now that I am being treated for the depression and anxiety, but I still shouldn't have had to go on medication that I've never needed before just to be able to cope with dealing with this ridiculous card. In November, I saw a specialist that I'd been waiting to see. They've decided that I've got severe arthritis in my lower spine and the joints where the pelvis joins onto the spine, which makes a lot of sense as to why I can't sit up for more than 3 or 4 hours at a time without getting into some serious pain. They can't fix it. There's no cure. They're going to try and inject some cortisone into the joints. There's going to be 3 or 4 injections on each side of my spine. They don't know if it'll work. They don't think it'll work, but because it's a load-bearing area of your body, so they think it'll just get pushed out and dispersed. But here's hoping that it'll give me a couple of months at least. I've had a really big week this week. I helped out with the barbecues, the Christmas barbecues for the Cashless Debit card people. We have started a support group here in Bundy to help people who are on the card, since Keith Pitt certainly doesn't care about problems that they're having, with his little lies about how no one on the card has any problems. I noticed that in Parliament recently he made some very blatant lies to Parliament. He said that no one from the Hinkler electorate or anyone from the card went to Senator Anthony Chisholm's meeting. I was one of the people there at the meeting. I told him my story, and he listened very well. He actually made a rebuttal to Keith Pitt's lies that no one came and talked to him that was from the area, that it was everyone from outside the Hinkler electorate. And unfortunately, it looks like that there's no way to hold him accountable for his lies to Parliament, which doesn't make much sense, because if the government doesn't get the truth, then how are they supposed to, govern the country properly if they don't have appropriate information? It drives me nuts. I've been to his office several times myself to ask for help, and every time he just sends you away and says, go to the NGO office or send a link. He will not listen to anyone who has problems with the card, and I am just disgusted. He is supposed to be an elected official who represents all of his constituents, everyone. Not just the rich people, not just the people who aren't on Centrelink payments, everyone. He is supposed to be there for everyone. And since he refuses, point blank, to talk to anyone who is on the card that has problems, well, that is just despicable. He should not be doing anything in government if he can't do his job at all. It's just not on. So I'm doing this video with my debit card exit application. It's been nearly 3 months now. There's the date, 16th of August, that I took it in. I've had a call since about a month and a half ago asking me for more information and to explain more about my answers to their questions. And I've also submitted more information regarding my mental health. I had a letter from my doctor saying that it was negatively affecting my mental health. And nearly 3 months later, Still nothing. Still on the card. No word on when anyone is going to be let off the card, when anyone can actually exit at all. And I find this to just be ridiculous. I mean, there's no reason I should be on the card. It's going to make my life a hell of a lot difficult very shortly. Because, I mean, I've had to move again. Last week, my now ex-housemate decided that with an argument we were having, because he was going to do something absolutely idiotic, and I told him it was a bad idea, and he started having an argument with me, and he decided to go out and slash all 4 of the tyres on my car. And since I can't definitively prove that it was him that did it, his mother only paid for half of the bill, so I've got another $160 to pay off on that. I've had to move out because if he's willing to do that to my car, who knows what he'd be willing to do to me. So I went to social housing, Queensland Housing, and asked if there was anything at all available because it just was not appropriate for me to live there anymore, and they said that there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Even the emergency housing is completely full up. And the Queensland government's response to this social housing crisis is to build 50 houses over the next 10 years. I mean, 5 houses a year. There is about 490-something people who are on the waiting list to get social housing just in Bundaberg. And 50 houses is not going to come anywhere near being able to support all those people who need help. It's just beyond a joke. I just don't know why they are so against social housing. I mean, you'd think they'd be all for it, because they get the money straight back from paying welfare to people, so, it'd cost them less. You'd think that they'd have a lot of social housing available, because it gets them the money back into the coffers. But, that's just my logical thinking. I've put in a submission for the latest cashless card legislation that's in front of the Parliament right now. It's submission 79, if anyone is interested in looking it up. I mean, I've already told most of the information that's in that submission, but if anyone needs a refresher or wants to just read it, then it's submission 79. You can find it as a response to the current legislation. A big thing about this new legislation is that it is allowing them to put the aged pension on the card in the Northern Territory. And that is everyone in the Northern Territory. If they're on the aged pension, they will be put on the card. They claim that it's only to be for voluntary people, but as the legislation is written, they're being put on the trigger payment list, which means that if you receive that payment, you will receive a cashless card in the mail, and the government will dictate where you can spend your money, and it'll make you beg permission to pay your rent, which no one else has to do, so I don't see why we should have to do it. It also gives the minister the ability to make the amount that they quarantine up to 100%. So no more 80-20 split. It would be 100% all on the card. No paying for mowers, for pools, for kids' excursions, cheap second-hand furniture or white goods if they break down, no cheap car parts, not being able to pay small businesses that don't have FPOS, such as hairdressers or mower people who come out and do your yard if you're physically incapable of doing it. Mobile mechanics often don't have FPOS, or plumbers, or some electricians. If you don't go with the big companies. There is market stalls, fruit and veg on the roadside. All of this that you won't be able to get if he decides that 100% of your payment should be on the card for whatever reason he thinks is a good reason, which, being so out of touch, it could mean that it's just someone who's lost their job through no fault of their own, so they're determining that they're incapable of managing any of their funds. Simple as that. They don't have to take it to Parliament. They don't have to get permission. He can just make a blanket decision, and then that's it. That whole area can have 100% quarantined, which would make everyone's life ridiculously difficult. It's difficult enough with 20%, let alone 100. Speaking of difficult, my car, I had to repair it a couple of weeks ago. The coolant tank got a couple of cracks in it because it was just so old and perished, so we replaced it. And we replaced the coolant and did a flush. And then after doing that, because it hadn't been building up pressure, it blew the water pump, which was an expensive venture in itself. Luckily, I have a mechanic in the family who can do little repairs like this for me on the cheap side. Again, needing cash for such things. When we took the old water pump off, there was a lot of corrosion inside that is all through the whole cooling system, and he gives the car about 6 to 8 months before it goes kaput. Unfortunately, I can't work full-time. I do have a part-time job now that requires my car. It doesn't pay a lot. I can't do many hours, but it means the difference between me eating or not. If I don't have a car, I can't work. If I can't work, I don't eat. It's as simple as that. There's no way I can save up enough in 6 or 8 months to be able to afford a better car that isn't going to die on me in a couple of months. So I've started up a GoFundMe. A few very, very generous friends have donated some already. I've also saved up $400 myself, which I'm adding to every single spare cent that I possibly have, despite all the repairs, the tires, the moving. All that has cost a lot, and I'm out of every single spare cent because it's all going to being able to get a car that's not going to die. I'll put a link in the comments, or the description of the video rather, and if you can't donate, please feel free to share it around. I mean, even if you can only donate $1, it would mean so much to me. It really would. I'm doing my best. I really am. Luckily now I'm in a place that seems a lot better. I'm not living with a raging alcoholic. The house is silent by 10 p.m. That in itself is a vast improvement. Let alone the fact that I'm not going to have to worry about my car getting its tires slashed if I get into an argument again. And I mean, I've been living there for nearly a year now, and this is the first argument that I've had with him. So, I'm I'm not a troublesome person. I get along with pretty much everyone, but he just decided that he didn't like me telling him that something was a bad idea and made it a very, very expensive decision for me. So if anyone can help me with the GoFundMe, I would be so grateful. I find it really difficult to ask for help, but I need to be able to work so I can eat. And it gets me out of the house. It's my only socialization that I get, really, since I don't have many friends. I can't afford to go out anyway. I am saving every cent I have. So please, if you can help, I would be grateful. If you can't, then please just share it around. And hopefully I can be able to get a car that won't require repairing every couple of months, and I can save up and maybe get glasses, or because that's 2 years overdue or something. It's just a never-ending stream of bills that keep coming up. If I get more than I need, I'll either pay a lump sum off insurance so I'm ahead and I can stay ahead, and then I'll split the rest. There's a wonderful charity in Bundaberg called the Angels Mini Mart. They have free hampers. You just go up and say, "Could I please have a hamper?" and they'll give you one if you need food. They've got extremely cheap groceries. You can take a couple of loaves of bread and some fruit and veg for free. But please, if you can spend some money on the groceries that they have there that are really, really, really cheap, then that lets them help more people. They've got a small, absolutely wonderful cafe where they cook really good food. They've got a clothing store where you can get cheap clothing. They provide cheap or free furniture. If you are desperate for furniture, they can help you out with mattresses or beds or cupboards and tables, that sort of thing. They are absolutely wonderful. They have supported me a lot with food over the past few months, and I'd like to be able to give back some to them. And also the Cashless card group, I'd like to donate some of the money to them as well, so they can do more printing and more advertising and hold more barbecues for people in the car, so they can network and they can talk to each other and talk about their problems and do some problem solving, and we can help them a lot too. So thank you for listening. Hopefully I've brought some more information to people's attention. I'll let everyone know if anything happens with the Xlet application, but I'm not holding my breath. It's been nearly 3 months and I haven't heard anything, so I think they're just stonewalling us. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a really, really good Christmas. Thank you.